Now we are going to start a new and very important journey. This is a journey that will not only help you speak English, but will help you succeed in your career. We are going to talk about real English at work. The goal of this series is to give you real practical examples and dialogues that you can use every single day in your professional life. The language of business is English, and knowing how to speak it with confidence is a very big step for your future. We will not just talk about words. We will talk about how to use them correctly and how to sound professional and clear. The first part of any professional relationship is the greeting. How you greet a person is very important because it sets the tone for the entire conversation. It is not just about saying hello. It is about saying the right hello for the right situation. There are two main types of greetings: formal and informal. For a formal setting, like a meeting with a client, or when you are talking to your boss, you should always use good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. You can also say, "How are you?" to be polite. This is a simple, but very professional way to start a conversation. For an informal setting, like talking to a colleague you know well, you can use hello, hi, or how's it going? It is important to remember the difference, because using an informal greeting in a formal setting can make you sound unprofessional. Now let's talk about introductions. The most common professional situation is when you need to introduce yourself or introduce someone else. A simple and clear introduction is the key to making a good first impression. When you introduce yourself at a meeting or to a new team member, you can say, "Hello, my name is Liam. I'm a project manager at ABC Company." This gives all the important information in one simple sentence. Your name, your job title, and your company. If the setting is a little more relaxed, you can say, "Hi, I'm Liam. I work in the marketing department." The goal is to be clear and direct, and to give the other person enough information to know who you are. When you introduce a colleague to someone else, you can say, "I'd like to introduce you to Emily. She is our new head of sales." This is a simple and very professional way to introduce someone. After you make the introduction, it is polite to let the other two people talk. You can say something like, "I'll leave you to get to know each other." This is a very common phrase. Remember, the most important part of any conversation is to listen. After you introduce yourself, you can ask the other person a question to keep the conversation going. You can ask, "What is your role here?" Or, "How long have you been working here?" These are simple questions, but they show that you are interested in the other person and that you are confident in your English. Mastering these simple greetings and introductions is the first step to building strong professional relationships. And it is a great start to your journey to fluency in the workplace. We have talked about greetings and introductions, which is the first step in any professional conversation. Now, we are going to talk about what comes next. The conversation that happens after you say hello. This is where many people feel nervous, because they don't know what to say. The next most common and most important topic is asking and answering about a person's job and role. This is a very professional way to continue a conversation and to show that you are interested in the other person. The goal is to ask the right questions and to have a clear answer ready for yourself. Let's start with the questions. There are a few ways to ask someone about their job, in both a formal and a more casual way. In a formal setting, such as a networking event or a new meeting. You can ask, "What is your role at the company?" Or "What department are you in?" These questions are direct and very professional. In a more relaxed setting, like a team lunch or a coffee break, you can use a more casual phrase like, "What do you do here?" or "What do you work on?" These are simple questions that are very easy to use, and they are very common in the workplace. Now for the answers. The key to a good answer is to have a few different options ready in your mind, depending on who you are talking to. For a short and simple answer, you can just say your job title and your department. For example, "I'm a project manager in the IT department." This is a perfect answer for a casual conversation. For a more detailed answer, you should also say what you are responsible for. This is very useful when you are talking to a client, or when you want to make a good impression. For example, "I'm a project manager. I'm responsible for planning and executing new software projects." This answer gives the other person more information, and it shows that you know your job. If you have a very technical or a very complex job, it is a good idea to have a simple way to explain it to a person who does not understand your industry. For example, if you are a data analyst, you can say, "I'm a data analyst. I work with a lot of numbers to help our company make better decisions." This is a simple and clear way to explain a complicated job. The most important part of this conversation is to also ask the other person about their role. After you give your answer, you can ask them, "And what do you do?" or "What is your role?" This shows that you are a good communicator, and it keeps the conversation going. It also helps you to learn about the other person and to build a professional relationship. The goal is to make the conversation feel natural and to be confident in both your questions and your answers. Mastering this is a very big step, and it will help you succeed in many different professional situations. We have covered how to introduce yourself and how to ask about a person's general role at a company. Now it is time to get into the details of your work. The next most common professional conversation is about projects and daily tasks. This is where you can show your colleagues and clients what you are working on and why your work is important. It is also a very good way to show that you are a good communicator. The goal here is to be clear and direct, and to sound confident in what you do. Let's start with the questions. If you want to know what someone is working on, you can ask, "What projects are you currently working on?" This is a very professional and common question. You can also ask about their responsibilities in a more general way. "Could you tell me more about your responsibilities on the team?" In a more casual conversation, you can simply ask, "What are you working on these days?" Or, "How is that project coming along?" These are all good ways to start a conversation about work, and they show that you are interested in what the other person is doing. Now for the answers. The key to a good answer is to be clear and to give a little more information than just the name of the project. You can start with a simple answer and then add more detail. For example, "I'm working on a new marketing campaign." This is a simple and very good answer. For a more detailed answer, you can add what your role in the project is. "I'm working on a new marketing campaign." My main responsibility is to create all the content for social media. This is a perfect answer because it explains what you do and what you are responsible for. You can also talk about your daily tasks. The best way to do this is to use the present continuous tense. For example, I'm just finishing up a report for my manager. Or, I'm preparing a presentation for the meeting tomorrow. These sentences are perfect for a casual conversation with a colleague. Another important part of working with others is asking for updates. A simple and polite way to ask about a project status is, "Hi John, do you have an update on the ABC project?" Or, "How is the ABC project coming along?" A good answer to these questions is to be honest and clear. "I'm still working on it. I should have it finished by the end of the day." Or, "It's going well. We are on schedule to finish on time." These simple phrases are the key to a good communication at work, and they help to build trust with your colleagues. Mastering these phrases is a very big step, and it will help you succeed in many different professional situations. We have talked about English for the office, but now we will talk about English for the real hard work in the industries, like factories, warehouses, and production lines. In these jobs, communication is often quick, direct, and clear. There is no time for long conversations, because time is money. The goal is to get your message across quickly and correctly, especially when you are talking about problems. In this part, we will focus on real situations and real dialogues that people in these industries use every single day. Let's start with a very common and important situation. Reporting a problem with a machine or a piece of equipment. Your supervisor or an engineer needs to know exactly what is wrong, and you need to be able to tell them. You can start with a clear sentence like, "The machine is not working," or "The machine has stopped." Then, you should add a little more detail. You can say, "There is a strange noise coming from the machine," or "The red light is on," or "The motor is getting very hot." Here are some more specific examples for different industries. In the plastic processing industry, the machine is making a very loud noise. The temperature is too high. In the food industry, the conveyor belt is stuck. The production line has stopped. In the rubber industry, the vulcanizer is not heating up. The pressure gauge is not working. Now let's talk about status updates in a warehouse or delivery job. This is when you tell your boss or your team about the progress of your work. The goal here is to be short and to the point. When you have finished a task, you can say, "The shipment has arrived," or "I've finished loading the truck," or "The order for the client is ready to go." When there is a problem, you can be honest and say, "We are still waiting for the delivery from the supplier," or "The forklift is broken. We need help to move the pallets." These simple phrases are the key to a good communication at work, and they help to build trust with your colleagues. Another important part of working in a factory is taking instructions from your boss or a foreman. You need to show that you understand the task. After your boss gives you instructions, you can say, "I understand. I will check the pressure gauge now." Or, "Okay, I will clean the work area." If you do not understand something, you should always ask. It is better to ask than to make a mistake. You can say, "Can you explain that one more time?" Or, "Could you show me how to do that?" These are very good and professional ways to ask for help, and they are very common in the workplace. The real advice here is to use simple and direct sentences, and to not be afraid to use them. You are not writing a book. You are getting a job done. Your communication is about clarity and safety, and these simple phrases are the key to succeeding in any industrial job. We have talked about reporting problems and giving status updates. Now we will talk about a topic that is perhaps the most important in any factory or industrial job, and that is safety and instructions. In these jobs, being clear and understanding everything is not just about being a good worker. It is about your own safety and the safety of your colleagues. There is no room for mistakes here. So the language needs to be very direct and very clear. The goal is to understand everything and to make sure that other people understand you. Let's start with a situation that happens every day. Understanding new instructions. If your supervisor or foreman gives you a new task, and you are not 100% sure you understand it, you must ask for clarification. It is not polite to just say yes and hope you are right. It is smart to ask. You can use a simple question like, "Can you please explain that again?" Or, "Could you show me how to do that?" These questions show that you are serious about your job and that you want to do it correctly. You can also ask more specific questions. For example, "Do you mean I should use this wrench? Or should I turn this off first?" This helps you to confirm every step. After you have received the instructions, it is very good practice to confirm what you have understood. This shows your boss that you were listening, and it helps to make sure there are no mistakes. You can say, "Okay, so I need to clean the machine first, and then I can turn it on. Is that correct?" Or, "I understand. I will use the blue pipe for the water." Right. This is a very common and very professional way to work. Now for a very important part of safety. Giving a warning to a colleague. If you see a colleague in a dangerous situation, you must speak up. The language here needs to be short and very direct. You can shout, "Watch out!" or "Be careful with that!" or "Don't touch that wire. It is live." These phrases are not polite. They are necessary. You can also give them instructions. "You need to wear your helmet here." Or, "Don't stand there. The forklift is moving." If you are a supervisor or a senior worker, you must be clear when you give safety instructions to a new person. You can say, first, you must wear safety glasses and a helmet at all times in this area. Or make sure the power is off before you start to clean the machine. It is also good to warn them about dangerous areas. This area is dangerous. Do not enter without my permission. Mastering this kind of communication is the most important part of working in any industrial job, because safety is always the #1 priority. We have covered how to report problems and how to be safe. But work is not just about what you do alone. It is also about teamwork and coordination. In a factory, in a warehouse, or on a production line, you are always working with other people, and you need to be able to communicate clearly with them. The next set of phrases is about asking for and offering help, and working together to get a job done. This is very important, because it helps to build a good team. And it makes the work easier for everyone. The goal here is to be polite, but also to be direct. Let's start with a very common situation. You need help from a colleague. In many jobs, some tasks are too difficult or too heavy for one person to do alone. When you need help, you can use a very simple and direct question. You can say, "Could you give me a hand with this?" Or, "Can you help me with this?" You can also say why you need help. "This box is too heavy for one person." Or, "I can't lift this on my own." This is a clear and professional way to ask for help. And it is a very common phrase in the workplace. Now for the other side of the coin, offering help to a colleague. If you see a colleague who is struggling with something, you can offer to help them. This shows that you are a good team player, and that you are ready to help. You can say, "Do you need a hand with that?" Or, "Let me know if you need any help." You can also be more specific. For example, "I can help you move those boxes if you want." These phrases are not just polite. They are a very important part of a good work environment. Another part of teamwork is coordinating a task. This is when 2 or more people are working together on a single job. You need to talk to your colleague to make sure everything is going smoothly. You can ask, "Are you ready for the next piece?" Or, "Have you finished with that part yet?" Or, "How is the loading going?" These questions help you to check on the progress of your colleague, and they make sure that there are no delays. When you are ready, you can say, "Okay, I'm ready to start now," or "I'm finished with my part. You can take over now." This is a very clear way to communicate, and it helps to make the work flow smoothly. The real advice here is to not be afraid to talk to your colleagues. You are a team, and good communication is the most important part of that team. Using these simple phrases for asking for help, offering help, and coordinating tasks is a great way to build strong relationships at work. And it helps to make the job easier for everyone. We have talked about teamwork and coordination, but in any factory or industrial job, there are always problems. and you need to be able to talk about them. The next set of phrases is about problem solving and troubleshooting. This is a very important skill, especially for engineers, toolmakers, and anyone who works with machines. The goal here is to be clear and to give all the important information so that the problem can be fixed quickly. There is no time for guessing. Let's start with the most important part: describing a problem. When you see something is wrong with a machine or a process, you need to be able to tell your supervisor or an engineer exactly what is happening. You should always be specific. For example, instead of saying, "The machine is broken," you can say, "The machine is not working. The red light is on, and it has stopped completely." Here are some more specific examples for different situations. The motor is making a strange noise, and it is getting very hot. The pressure gauge is showing a very high number. It is not normal. The conveyor belt is stuck. The production line has stopped. The system is not starting. I have tried to restart it 3 times, but nothing is happening. After you describe the problem, it is good to talk about what you think the cause is. This shows that you are a good worker and that you are thinking. You can use a phrase like, "I think the problem is with the sensor," or "It looks like the pump is not working." You can also ask for help, which is a very good and professional thing to do. You can say, "Can you take a look at this? I think we have a problem with the motor." Or, "I have tried everything. I need your help here." This is a clear way to ask for a solution. Now for the solutions. This is when you work together with a colleague or an expert to fix the problem. The language here is collaborative. You can suggest an idea. "Maybe we should try to restart the system again." Or, "I think we should replace the old part." The engineer or supervisor can give you instructions. Okay. First, turn off the power. Then, check the wires. Or we will need to order a new part. For now, you can work on something else. This kind of communication is not about who is right. It is about finding a solution to the problem. It is about using clear language to get the job done. And it is a very important part of succeeding in any industrial job. Now let's talk about a very important part of many industrial jobs. And that is communicating with people outside of your company. This is when you talk to suppliers, to delivery companies, or to other partners. The language here is a little different. It needs to be very clear, very polite, and very professional. This is a different type of work than communicating with your colleagues on the factory floor. But it is just as important for the business. Let's start with a very common situation: placing an order with a supplier. You can do this by phone or by email, but the language is the same. You need to be very clear about what you want, how much you want, and when you need it. You should always have your order number and all the product details ready before you call. A simple conversation can go like this. Hello. My name is John from the ABC Company. I'd like to place an order for more raw materials. Then, you can give the details. We need 100 units of plastic resin, and we need it delivered by next Friday. Can you confirm the price and the delivery date? This is a very professional way to make sure everything is correct. Another very common situation is checking on the status of a delivery. This is a part of the job for people in logistics and in the warehouse. You need to know when your materials will arrive. You can say, I'm calling to check the status of our order number 1234. Or has the shipment for our factory left the warehouse yet? It is also a good idea to ask for a tracking number. Do you have a tracking number for me? So I can see where the delivery is. These are very common questions, and the supplier will know exactly what you are asking. Now for a more difficult situation. Solving a problem with a supplier. Maybe the delivery was late, or the order was wrong. You need to be firm, but you must always be polite. The goal is not to be angry. The goal is to fix the problem. You can start with a clear sentence. I'm calling about a problem with our last order, number 5678. Then, you can explain what is wrong. We ordered 200 units, but we only received 150. Or the delivery was expected yesterday, but it hasn't arrived yet. Can you help me find out why? It is very important to use a calm voice and to have all the details ready, like the order number and the date of the order. This shows that you are a professional, and it will help to get the problem fixed much faster. Mastering these phrases is a very big step for your professional career, because good relationships with suppliers are very important for any business. We have talked about speaking to people inside and outside of your company, but in any industrial job, there is also a very important skill that is not about talking. It is about writing. The next set of skills is about documentation and reporting. This means writing simple reports, filling out forms, and leaving clear notes for your colleagues. This is a very important part of your job, because good documentation is key for safety, for quality control, and for the managers to understand what is happening. The goal here is to be very clear and very specific, so there is no room for mistakes. Let's start with a very common thing. Writing a simple incident report. If something goes wrong, you need to write it down. A simple report can look like this. You can use a form, or just write it on a piece of paper. You should always write down the date and time. Date, September 17, 2025. And time, 10:30 a.m. Then, you should write down the location. Location production line 3. Or location, warehouse, section B. Then, you need to describe the incident in a very short sentence. Incident. A part fell from the conveyor belt. Or incident. The machine stopped working. Or incident. The temperature was too high. Then, you must write down the action taken. Action taken. I turned off the power and called the foreman. This is a very professional and very important way to report an incident. Another very common situation is leaving a note for a colleague on the next shift. You need to tell them about the status of the work or about any problems. You can start with a greeting. Hi, John. And then write your message. The machine is ready for the next batch. Or we have a problem with the hydraulic system. Please check it. Or the last shipment is here. But the papers are missing. This is a very good way to make sure that the work continues smoothly and that everyone is on the same page. Finally, let's talk about filling out a quality control or inspection form. In many jobs, you have to check the quality of the products, and you must write down your findings. You will see sections that say status. You can write OK or not OK. You will also see a section for defects, where you can write down what is wrong. One crack on the side, or the color is wrong. And a section for notes where you can write a short explanation. Notes: the plastic is too hot, so it is getting a crack. Using these simple phrases for writing is a very big step for your professional career. Because good writing shows that you are a responsible worker and that you are professional. We have talked about communication for day-to-day work, from talking about machines to writing reports. Now we are going to talk about a very important conversation that can change your career. We are going to talk about performance reviews and feedback. This is when you sit down with your manager to talk about your work, your progress, and your future. It's a very serious conversation, and knowing the right words to use is key to your success. The goal here is to be prepared and to be professional. Let's start with a very important part of the conversation. Talking about your accomplishments. Your manager will want to hear about what you have done well. You should not be arrogant, but you should be confident. You can use phrases like, I'm proud of the work I did on the X project. We finished it on time and under budget. Or I believe I've improved my skills in, for example, I've learned how to operate the new machine. It is very good to have specific examples ready to show your manager. Now for the other side of the coin, talking about areas for improvement. A performance review is also about what you can do better. This is not a bad thing. This is a chance for you to grow. You should be honest, but you should also be positive. You can say, I know I need to work on my communication skills with the new team. I'm taking a course to help me with this. Or, I'd like to get more training in a new skill or software. I believe it will help me do my job better. This shows your manager that you are serious about your job and that you want to improve. And finally, a very important topic. Asking for a raise or a promotion. This is a conversation you need to prepare for. You should not just ask for more money or a better job. You need to show your manager why you deserve it. You can start with a simple sentence. I'd like to discuss my salary. I feel that based on my performance and the extra responsibilities I've taken on, I deserve an increase. Or, I'm interested in taking on more responsibility. I believe I'm ready for a promotion to a more senior role. This is a very professional and respectful way to talk about your career goals. The real advice here is to always be prepared. Before your performance review, write down a list of all your accomplishments. Write down what you have learned and how you have helped the company. And write down what you want to work on in the future. This will make you feel more confident in the meeting. Mastering these conversations is a big step for your career. We have talked about the serious side of work, about reports, about meetings, and about performance reviews. But a very important part of any job is the communication that happens outside of the formal work. We are going to talk about small talk and building relationships. This is the conversation you have in the break room or before a meeting starts. It may seem unimportant, but it is the key to building trust and a good work environment. When you have a good relationship with your colleagues, your job is easier, and it is more fun. The goal here is to be friendly and to find common ground. The easiest topic for small talk is the weather. Everyone can talk about the weather. It is a safe topic. You can start a conversation with a simple sentence. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? Or, looks like it's going to rain later. Or, I hope the sun comes out soon. After you say this, the other person will most likely respond, and then you can continue the conversation. Another great topic is the weekend. This is a very common topic, especially on Mondays. You can ask a question. What did you do this weekend? Or, did you do anything fun over the weekend? People love to talk about what they did in their free time. If someone asks you, you can say, I went hiking this weekend, it was great. Or, I just relaxed at home and watched some movies. This is a perfect way to get to know your colleagues on a more personal level. You can also talk about hobbies and interests. This is where you can find something that you have in common with your colleagues. You can say, do you have any hobbies? Or I love to play football in my free time. Do you like sports? You can also talk about a new movie or a new TV show. It is all about finding something that you both enjoy talking about. And finally, a simple compliment can go a very long way. A compliment is a great way to start a conversation and to make someone feel good. You can say, that's a great jacket. It looks good on you. Or, that was a really good idea you had in the meeting. Or your presentation was very clear. I really understood it. These are simple sentences, but they build a lot of goodwill and trust. The real advice here is to not be afraid to start these small conversations. They may not seem important, but they are a very big part of a good work environment. These conversations help you to see your colleagues as people, not just as coworkers. And that is a very important part of having a successful and happy career. We have talked about small talk and building relationships with your colleagues. But in any professional life, there is a more formal place for communication, and that is the meeting. In a meeting, you need to be able to understand what is being said, give your own opinion, and ask questions. This is a very important skill. Whether you are a manager, an engineer, or a foreman, the goal here is to be professional, to be clear, and to show that you are an active part of the team. Let's start with the first part of any meeting. Starting the meeting. If you are the leader of the meeting, you should start it clearly and on time. You can say, "Good morning, everyone. Let's start the meeting." Or, "Thank you for coming. The main topic today is our new project." This sets the tone for the meeting. You can also say what the goal of the meeting is. We need to discuss our plan for the next 2 weeks. Now for the most important part of any meeting. Giving your opinion and participating. In a meeting, you need to be able to give your thoughts. You can use phrases like, "I think we should try a new approach," or "in my opinion." The best way to solve this is to. This is a polite way to give your opinion. If you want to agree with someone, you can say, "I agree with that," or "That's a good point. I think so too." If you need to disagree with someone, it is very important to be polite and to not be aggressive. You can say, "I see your point, but I have a different perspective on that." Or, "I'm not sure I agree with that. Maybe we should think about another option." This is a very professional way to disagree with someone. Another important part is asking a question. If you are not clear on something, you should always ask. It is better to ask a question than to not understand. You can say, "Could I ask a question?" Or, "What about the budget?" Or, "I'm not clear on the deadline. When do we need to finish this?" These questions show that you are listening and that you are thinking about the topic. And finally, concluding the meeting. At the end of the meeting, it is a good idea to summarize the key decisions. You can say, "So to summarize, our main decisions are to start the new project next week and to get new equipment." You can also say what the next steps are. The next step is for me to talk to the supplier, and for John to create a new report. And finally, you can thank everyone. Thank you everyone for your time. These simple phrases are the key to a good meeting, and they help to make sure that everyone is on the same page. We have talked about meetings, and now we are going to talk about a very personal and very important part of professional communication, and that is giving and receiving feedback. This is when you talk to your colleagues or your manager about their work, or about your own work. It can be a little difficult, but when it is done correctly, it is one of the best ways to grow and to help your team grow. The goal here is to be honest, but also to be respectful and constructive. Let's start with giving constructive feedback. This is when you tell someone what they can do better. A good way to do this is to use the feedback sandwich method. You say something positive first, then the constructive feedback, and then you finish with another positive sentence. You can start with a compliment. I really liked the way you presented the report in the meeting. The data was very clear. Then you can give the constructive advice. The best way to do this is to use I statements. You focus on your own perspective and not on placing blame. For example, I think the report could have been even stronger if we had included a few more specific examples. Or, I felt that the conclusion was a little bit too short. This is much better than saying, your report was too short. You are talking about your own opinion, not a fact. And then you can finish with a positive. Overall, your work is very strong. And I think with that small change, it will be perfect. This makes the feedback easier to hear. And it helps the other person feel good about their work. Now for the other side. Receiving feedback. This can be a little difficult, but it is a great way to learn. When someone gives you feedback, you must listen, and you must not interrupt them. You can show that you are listening by saying, "Thank you for the feedback," or, "I understand what you're saying." If you are not clear on something, you should always ask a question. You can say, "Could you give me a specific example of what you mean?" Or, "What do you suggest I do differently next time?" This shows that you are open to learning and that you are serious about your job. This is a very professional attitude, and it is very respected in the workplace. And finally, a small but very powerful thing is giving positive feedback. A simple compliment can make a person's day, and it builds a good team spirit. You can say, "That was a great job on that presentation," or, "I really appreciated your help with that task. Thank you." These small sentences show that you see your colleagues and that you appreciate their work. And that is a very important part of any good job. We have talked about communication inside your company, from meetings to feedback. Now we're going to talk about a very important skill when you are dealing with people outside of your company. We're going to talk about negotiation and problem resolution with clients. This is a very advanced skill because you need to be professional, but you also need to be polite and firm at the same time. The goal is to solve a problem and keep a good relationship with your client. Let's start with a very common and difficult situation: handling a client complaint. The first and most important thing is to show that you understand their problem. You must start with empathy. You can say, "I'm very sorry to hear that you're having a problem with the delivery," or, "I understand your frustration with the product," or, "I apologize for the delay. We are working to fix it." This shows the client that you are on their side and that you want to help them. After you show empathy, you can explain your side of the story. You must be honest, but you must be professional. You can say, "There was a small problem with the production line which caused the delay." Or our records show that the shipment was sent on Monday, but the delivery company had an issue. This is a calm way to explain the situation without placing blame. Now for the most important part, finding a solution. The goal of a negotiation is to find a compromise that works for both you and the client. You can ask for their ideas. What do you suggest we do to fix this? Or, how can we resolve this problem? You can also offer a solution from your side. How about we offer you a 15% discount on your next order? Or we can deliver the new parts next week, and we will pay for the shipping. These are good ways to show that you are ready to find a solution. If the client wants something that you cannot do, you must be honest, but you must still be polite. You can say, "I'm afraid we can't do that, but what we can do is offer a refund for the broken part." Or, "I see your point, but we can't meet that deadline." As a compromise, we can offer to finish half of the order by Friday. This is a perfect way to show that you are trying to help, but that you are also professional and honest. The real advice here is to always stay calm. The client may be frustrated, but you must be a professional. Listen to what they are saying, show that you understand, and always try to find a solution that works for both of you. Mastering these phrases is a big step for your career. Let's start with the most common question in any interview. Tell me about yourself. You should not talk about your whole life. You should talk about your professional life. You should tell a short story about your work history and why it makes you a good fit for this job. You can start with a simple sentence. "I have been working as your job title for years." Then you can talk about your skills and accomplishments. For example, "In my previous role, I was responsible for your responsibilities, and I am very good at your skills." This is a perfect way to show that you are a good professional. At the end of the interview, you will always have the opportunity to ask a question. This is a very important part of the interview. A good question shows that you are interested in the job and that you are thinking about the future. You should not ask about salary or vacation days. You can ask, "What does a typical day look like in this role?" Or, "What are the opportunities for growth in this company?" Or, "What are the biggest challenges the team is facing right now?" These are all good questions that will make you look professional. And finally, ending the interview. You should always end the interview with a very professional sentence. You should thank the interviewer for their time, and you should tell them that you are very interested in the job. You can say, "Thank you for your time. I'm very interested in this opportunity and I look forward to hearing from you soon." Or, "I really enjoyed learning more about this position. I hope to hear from you." Mastering these phrases is a very big step for your career. It can help you get the job you want. We have talked about many things, from giving feedback to going to an interview. And now we are going to talk about a very important skill that every manager, team leader, and experienced worker needs. And that is onboarding and training a new employee. When a new person comes to your team, your job is to make them feel welcome and to give them all the information they need to do their job well. This is about being a good leader and a good colleague, and it is a very important part of a good team. The goal here is to be clear, to be patient, and to be encouraging. Let's start with the first thing you say to a new person. Welcoming them to the team. A good welcome can make a new person feel much more comfortable. You can say, "Welcome to the team," or "We're happy to have you here," or "My name is Liam. I'll be your team leader. Let me show you around." These simple phrases are very friendly, and they show that you are happy to have the new person on your team. Now for the next step. Explaining the daily tasks. You need to be very clear when you explain what a new person needs to do. It is best to go step by step. You can say, "First, you'll need to put on your safety gear. Then you can start with a simple task like organizing the tools in the storage room." You should also tell them what the most important part of their job is. Your main responsibility is to make sure all the parts are in the right place. This gives them a clear goal, and it helps them understand their job. Another important part is introducing them to their colleagues. This is a very simple thing, but it is very important for the new person to feel like a part of the team. You can say, "Hi Mark, I'd like you to meet Sarah. She's our new engineer." Then, you can also say something a little more personal about each person. "Sarah, this is Mark. He's been with the company for 5 years and he's our best maintenance worker." This helps to make the introduction a little more friendly. And finally, answering questions. A new person will have a lot of questions, and you must be patient. You should always encourage them to ask questions. You can say, "Do you have any questions so far?" Or "Feel free to ask me anything you don't understand." If they ask you a question, you should always give a clear answer. The answer to your question is, "The manual is on the shelf over there." Or "Yes, you can take a coffee break at 10 a.m. Being clear and patient is a very important part of being a good leader, and it helps the new person feel confident in their job. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what else you would like to hear about. See you in the next lesson.